Eastern Europe is on the rise again. NATO's 1st Armored Brigade has reportedly begun moving rapidly toward the Ukrainian border, causing panic in Moscow and increasing uncertainty on the battlefield. This brigade is known as one of NATO's most powerful combat units, equipped with main battle tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, and heavy artillery. Their sudden movement signals that the Western alliance is increasingly prepared for any eventuality. A large military convoy was spotted crossing a strategic route in Poland, heading toward a border point leading into Ukraine. Eyewitness reports indicate that dozens of Abrams and Leopard tanks were part of the convoy. This move comes amid increased Russian military activity in the Donbas region. NATO views the movement of additional troops into Ukraine as a response to the growing threat of Russian escalation. Moscow reacted immediately. Russian state media called this troop deployment NATO's biggest provocation since the start of the Ukrainian war. The Kremlin has asserted that it will not remain silent in the face of such a move. Meanwhile, at European military ports, the atmosphere was equally tense. Giant transport ships unloaded their cargo throughout the day. Heavy tanks were unloaded one by one, ready to be moved toward the border. The 1st Armored Brigade itself has a formidable reputation. This unit has participated in major operations in the Middle East and is known as NATO's Steel Spearhead. Now, they are stationed just a few hundred kilometers from the Ukrainian front lines. Ukraine welcomed this move. The Kyiv government called the presence of the brigade and NATO tanks a clear demonstration of international support for their fight against a Russian invasion. However, military analysts warned that this deployment could trigger a direct conflict. Any miscommunication or minor incident on the border could escalate into open conflict between NATO and Russia. In Moscow, the Kremlin held an emergency meeting with top military officials. Russian media reported that Iskander missiles and S-400 systems had been moved closer to the west to deter a possible attack. This NATO move is also seen as a strategy to cut off Russian supply lines to Ukraine and secure a new line of defense in Eastern Europe. With the addition of naval battle tanks, NATO now has a formidable mechanized force. Poland, as a major transit host, has expressed its readiness to become NATO's bulwark in Europe. The Polish government has even placed reserve troops on standby to bolster logistics lines. However, on the other hand, many observers warn that the risk of direct confrontation is increasing. Troop movements on this scale could trigger diplomatic missteps that could lead to a broader conflict. The brigade itself has a long track record in NATO operations, from missions in the Middle East to joint exercises in Europe. Now, they are a symbol of NATO's formidable strength, directly approaching the border of conflict. International media are calling this situation a new phase of military confrontation between the West and Russia. Some even believe that this troop deployment is a sign that NATO is ready to intervene openly if the situation in Ukraine worsens. This situation has drastically increased tensions in the region. Many now fear that open war between NATO and Russia is only a matter of time. The presence of this brigade also demonstrates the United States' seriousness in leading NATO in confronting the Russian threat. Washington has emphasized that European security is its top priority. The presence of this brigade also demonstrates the United States' seriousness in leading NATO in confronting the Russian threat. Washington has emphasized that European security is its top priority. People in Polish and Ukrainian border towns are reportedly growing anxious. The presence of heavily armed troops and tank convoys is creating a tense atmosphere on the streets. Meanwhile, joint exercises between NATO and Ukrainian forces are reportedly imminent to test their combat readiness for any eventuality. The world is holding its breath. With NATO's 1st Armored Brigade already on the front lines, any misstep could trigger a full-scale war that would destabilize the entire European region. Meanwhile, Washington maintains that this deployment is part of its unwavering commitment to protecting allies and preventing further Russian aggression in Europe. The Kremlin has responded with threats of retaliation, warning that any NATO move deemed to be crossing the line will be met with decisive and deadly action. With the 1st Armored Brigade now on the front lines, the world is holding its breath. The Eastern European front is truly heating up, and if the escalation is not controlled, the world could face the largest conflict since World War II.